We're here at the World Economic Forum. What a crazy, crazy AI-dominated year this is, and I'm with I believe, the greatest university president of all time. Maybe a little biased. I have a wife and three sons who are all Northeastern students and graduates. It is truly an honor to be here with the great Joseph Aoun, leader of Northeastern University, and also author of an AI book.
Yeah, it's called Robot Proof Higher Education in the Age of AI.
And what I just found out is the first edition was written 10 years ago.
Yes.
So it's funny because we've been coming to this event here at Davos for 6 years, and one of our partners in the venture fund wrote a book using GPT-2.
Yes.
This is in 2000. She got on stage and presented this entire thing is imminent, and nobody cared. No, nobody recognized it. But we're both MIT alums, so I think we've seen things coming. But 10 years ago,
Yeah.
to be writing a book about education post AI is pretty remarkable. You've expanded this university, not only made it into a world-class university, but a large growing institution with campuses all over the country, but also all over the world.
Yeah, in the UK and in Canada.
One of the reasons that I was attracted to MIT is that, the motto is minds and hands, mans and hannes.
Yeah.
And it is known as a place where you would actually get grease and dirt under your fingernails. Yeah. And I wanted to be part of building and in creating. But even more extreme on that end was Northeastern, where every single student was doing some time working in the real world, and it was incredibly hands-on. Now, a lot of the Northeastern students are doing their internships at really cool places like CarGurus and Wayfair, and you can also do venture startups now as part of your work study. And so it's become the coolest of all possible experiences.
Around 2008, we globalized the university, including, those co-ops, which are long-term internships. And we have now 3,000 companies and NGOs and institutions working with us in 146 countries. So, and that allowed the students to really have a different perspective. It's not local, it's global, and you are understanding the world, understanding the opportunities. So, that is certainly a plus for students, but also in the age of AI, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yeah. AI is not contextual. AI doesn't understand the physical world yet.
Yep.
And so one of the advantages that experiential education and co-op gives the student is the opportunity precisely to exercise their attributes in a real-world setting. So they start to understand what it means to work in teams, cultural agility, understand different perspectives. And also they come back and they say, look, I saw a gap in this startup. I saw a gap in this company, and then I'm going to launch my company. So they are understanding what they are good at, what others are good at, but also they're understanding the opportunities. They are essentially practicing their human attributes.
Yeah, this is like the most important topic, and we should get into it. First of all, do you know any other university president who is saying what you just said?
Well, I think what we are seeing is university presidents are talking about experiential education. And, in fact, the students want experiential education. So we are seeing that if you open now websites of various universities, there is a discussion about experiential education. What's happening now, the second step is really to make it part of your DNA. And that's the second step, and that's harder to achieve. We all are going to become obsolete by definition. Why? Because AI and other advances are going to make what we have done, what we have studied, obsolete. So what the university is doing is help you start understanding, not only to learn how to learn, but also to reinvent yourself. And that's the most important aspect. And that's a lifelong learning endeavor. I certainly have reinvented myself. You have reinvented yourself. And this is going to be something that everybody will be doing by necessity. And so the university you're not going to the university to get the knowledge. You're going to university to understand first, what is it? What are the major changes that are happening? AI, quantum, and we can list them all. And at the same time, how am I going to be impacted by that? How is society going to be impacted by that? and what role can I do in shaping, can I have in shaping that? So essentially, the student is there not as a passive recipient, but as an actor,
Yeah.
and not only through the study and the research they are doing, but also through the co-op and the experiential education.
I love that framing of the role because, if you a lot of these universities, like if you look at Harvard, 1600s, and the role of the university is, well, look, all the knowledge is in books. There are very few books. We'll bring them all to one library, and then the rest of the knowledge is in these brains. We'll bring all those brains, and so everything is in one place. So if you wanted that knowledge, there was only one thing you could do: get on a horse, ride to Harvard University, and be there. So then the internet comes along, and all the knowledge is out there. AI comes along, and all the knowledge can be propagated through AI. So then what is the role of the university? And what you're articulating is new to me, which is, no, you come in as one type of human being and you leave a different human being. Now, that part hasn't changed. And so what can you add now to the curriculum to replace the fact that the library is irrelevant in the age of the internet?
Moving forward, I think the major opportunity and also the major challenge is the balance between AI and the agency of AI and the human agency. What do I mean by that? I mean, now it is the case, and we discussed it, you and I discussed it several times, is AI is becoming very, very, very powerful. And it's displacing things that many people do, including traditional aspects of faculty research or faculty teaching, etc. Now, there are aspects, as we said, that for the time being, AI has some limits. It doesn't understand the physical world, and it's a difficult endeavor, and it may take time, and it will happen. Also, we as humans have attributes that are difficult to match. For instance, we talked about teamwork. We talked also about the idea what we do is transferring our knowledge very easily from a domain to another
Yeah.
and applying it throughout our lives. That's something that AI cannot do. So essentially, going to college is allowing you to understand precisely the balance between agentic AI and human agency. How do we do it? I talked about the framework called Humanics, and Humanics means simply understand machines, understand the product of these machines. So as understand machines is the AI literacy.
Yeah.
The product is all the data literacy, and then focus on the human literacy that for the time being machines do not duplicate.
Yeah.
And so it's the integration of these three literacies that are important. And because this balance between AI agency and human agency is not given once for all, it's something that you have to negotiate throughout your life. And that's what we have to do. Therefore, that's the first step in becoming, if you want, robot proof. The second step is what we discussed already, co-op and experiential education, because it allows you precisely to hone those attributes that are human and at the same time to put your knowledge, your technical knowledge to the test and modify it. And so that's the second. And the third that I believe is essential, and universities have an enormous opportunity there that hasn't been mined.
Yeah.
And it's a fact that we all need to reinvent ourselves because we're becoming obsolete. So the university has to provide you with the opportunity to reinvent yourself. Do you need a small certificate? We're going to provide it. Do you need a badge? We're going to provide it. Do we need a group to network with and think about the future? We're going to provide it.
Yeah.
And so that's a lifelong endeavor and a lifelong engagement with your alma mater. Yeah.
And so what does it mean now to come to Northeastern? Does everybody experience every campus, or
Okay, that's actually a great point, and it became clear during COVID when usually universities identify themselves with their campuses, with their campus. So if you think about Stanford, Palo Alto, as if you think about Princeton is in Princeton,
Princeton's in
Princeton,
Princeton?
and so this congruence between the campus and the university has been called into question during COVID. Why? Because the campuses closed, but the universities didn't close.
Right.
So essentially, that was the first step. The second step for us is that the students have the opportunity to have different curricula in those different campuses and different experiential opportunities. So some students will want to stay in one campus. Some students will want to roam and then move, from the UK and spend a year in the UK, then come to Boston, then go to Auckland. That's fine.
That's fun.
So
Go
you're maximizing the opportunities for the students.
Yeah.
And then the curricula are going to be different and adapt to the environment, and the focus on tech, obviously focus on fintech and business and in London, etc. And also you'll have different co-op opportunities, similarly for the researchers too, because we have researchers in all these campuses now, and they are going to have different opportunities. So the idea is that think about it as a place that will allow you to expand your horizon and not be confined to one spot or one campus.
Well, I think the Bay Area campus is absolutely brilliant, and I see this all the time because working with all these students to create new companies. Boston has the biggest talent density in the entire world by far. It's just crazy, and the replenishment of that every year with new students is like no other place on the planet. But the Bay Area is clearly it's all the capital, and it's a huge amount of the intellectual breakthroughs in AI are coming from this very small area in Silicon Valley. And the more you can expose the students to that, like do your recruiting, do your building, do your networking in Boston, but you have to spend some time out there
Absolutely.
to pick it up. But the Bay Area is the real linchpin, and you're the only one acting on this. It's really obvious.
Each university defines its own priorities. What I love about the American system is that we don't have a minister of education that tells us what to do. So you have private universities, public universities, small colleges, religious colleges, for profit, not for profit. You want to study the great books, you can do it. And so I love this diversity, and this diversity has served us very well, as served the students and served the research production. So if every university become alike, then this diversity is going to disappear, and there is a cost to that.
Okay, yeah, but okay, you're saying if they all could become alike, but you're literally the only one.
For the time being, but I see.
I mean, my 1-3% of
Yeah.
universities would be good enough for me. But
Yeah, I think you're seeing already changes. You're seeing some universities exploring that. They started with business schools,
yeah,
and now I think it's going to go beyond.
yeah,
Because of what you said. Because you look, where is the locus of action?
yeah.
The locus of action is precisely in
I think
New York, Silicon Valley, etc.
trust is exactly. It's very obvious to me, and it's is obviously obvious to you because you're doing it. You have such a reputation now that your leadership. If you came to Northeastern and said, "Here's what we're going to do," it's going to happen.
When I arrived, people said he's a short timer and he's not going to last. So forget about it.
Did you ever prove them wrong?
In higher education, we usually work by consensus, and we want everybody to be on board.
Yeah.
What we
With
did,
a lot of people in that
yeah,
consensus.
yeah,
30, 40,
and
50.
so you cannot move fast.
Yeah.
What we did successfully is to say we believe in three things: a culture of experimentation, a culture of innovation, and we believe in academic freedom. Therefore, if you as a faculty you are interested in exploring this opportunity, we're going to allow it to happen. We're here to help you. And therefore, when we wanted to change things, we didn't ask everybody to vote on it or everybody to do it.
Yeah.
What we did is say, who are the early adopters? Because usually the early adopters are going to run with it,
Yeah.
show that it's working. Then if and usually the naysayers are waiting to see how it's going to fail. If it doesn't fail, then that's a proof that's going to work. And the large majority is in between.
But there's still something fundamentally different in what you've achieved. And that I know when you go into the hockey rink, the entire crowd erupts and they applaud. And on graduation day in Fenway Park, I don't know if you remember this past year, there's drizzle and rain, and the students are overjoyed and they want to hear you talk for as long as you're willing to talk.
Success is not built by one person. It's built by a community. So I think what we did successfully is have the community assume ownership. It's not about you, the president, or because if it's about you, you fail.
Right.
If the community is running with it, and once again, it's not a consensus. Who are the early adopters?
Yeah.
And then they will bring the community together, but it's not longer you.
Yeah.
And the students actually are very sensitive to that too, because we have around 600 now clubs, all student run.
Yeah.
So what the students in fact are the owners, are the true owners, and that's why they are happy. It's not because I talk to them, we sit down together and we have fun, or we discuss things, but also because they feel that they are owners too.
Yeah. It's the continuity of the mission that brings in the great people that you were just describing. Yes, they implement the success, and yes, the great leaders always give them credit, but it's the continuity of the vision that makes that possible, and it's extremely rare. So I'm pretty sure that when universities get reinvented, which they inevitably need to do very quickly, they're all going to study the model that you created, both the geographic model and the AI model. And it'll be clear to everyone in hindsight that this was Joe Aoun's vision. Yes, implemented by great people all around him, but it started in your head and propagated out, and that's what made it happen.
I mean, look, in some ways, if we are a learning institution, namely we are learning ourselves as an institution, whatever vision you have is a vision that's going to be perfected, changed, challenged by outside forces and inside forces.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of being in a university, because people are going to challenge you, and that's ownership, which I love, because when somebody is challenging you,
Yeah.
then the person is assuming ownership of that, because then the person has a stake in it.
Yeah.
Because I think I can do it better. Well, fine. You think you can do it better? Do it better.
In the age of AI, everyone's questioning, do we need universities at all? But to me, it's very clear that the only ethical actor in this very turbulent time that we're going into, that understands the technology is the universities. And the universities have no agenda other than the pure good.
You're hitting on something very important, because in some domains, well, the real world or companies are ahead of us. Take for instance AI. So certain aspects of AI. Take quantum, certain aspects of quantum. But you alluded to something important. Universities have a convening role, and this convening role is going to be important, because who are the players in any society? You have the government, you have the companies and businesses, and you have universities. Now, if the universities as a convener can bring the three together,
Yeah.
to really think about the future, shape the future, think about ethical AI, think about the implications for human beings, is it going to create a displacement? Is AI going to be displacement at the same time? Is going to provide opportunities and complementarity?
Yeah.
I mean, and how are we going to focus on that? If we can work together on this, and I think we are seeing signs. For instance, you recall when Google and others tried to do and put together committees for ethical AI, etc., and didn't work. Well, we are in a situation where there are coming various companies are coming to us and say, help us with the ethical AI. So universities have to open themselves precisely to this opportunity. We are a convener, and a convener that we are the honest broker.
Yeah.
And that I think we have to play.
Yeah, something you just said really resonates with me too. The honest broker, but also the global honest broker. When you walk around the campus, it's clearly a cross section of the entire world. And then when you walk across Google's campus, it's not a cross section of the world. It's a U.S. company, fundamentally. You just feel the difference.
And that's a very important point, because the students learn how to have, to be global themselves,
Yep.
but also to have this cultural agility to understand where others are coming from.
So it's really clear that the honest broker needs to have a global view. And then when you go to the campuses, you literally have a cross section of every culture in the entire world resident there. So
And that's precious.
And your background by itself is a good example.
That's right.
Growing up,
But you're mentioning campuses are, have this, multinational national approach. You have the cultural agility. You have people coming from different horizons, and that is terrific. That's terrific. That's a plus for every person, no matter where they are, no matter what they will be living, and no matter which nationality they have.
Well, let's commit to doing everything we can to get the corporations to understand that and to
It's a deal.
get the.
Let's do it together.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Great being with you.
Absolutely pleasure.